South Korea is a fast developing country, becoming more known for its popular culture and entertainment thanks to the Hallyu wave. As a trending travel destination, here are some tips and tricks we wish we'd known before we traveled there. As per usual, we recommend the hygiene triad. That's tissues, wet wipes, and hand sanitizer. This is important to make sure you're safe and healthy during your trip because no one wants to be sick on a holiday. It's useful if you can't find a public bathroom when you're wandering around or if you just spilled something on yourself. Language! The language spoken in South Korea is Korean, but you'll find that there's English in many places, such as malls and for public transportation. A lot of street signs will also have Romanized Korean, so you can easily find where you are and which direction you need to go. Although English is widely available, services still hesitate to speak in English, especially outside of Seoul. After all, it's not their first language. Tourist destinations will usually have English-speaking staff, but don't expect too much in local places such as restaurants. Menus are typically in Korean, but a lot of restaurants also have menus in English, Chinese, and maybe Japanese too. Sometimes we've even seen places that have Thai or even Russian written on it. Korea also has a lot of loanwords from English, so you might get by using English keywords such as bus, taxi, hamburger. However, as per usual with any country that you travel to, we recommend learning a few key phrases so you can understand things like prices and ordering in basic Korean. Don't forget your please and thank yous. We recommend learning numbers and also animals so you know what you're eating. Note that Korea has two counting systems, and for prices they use the Sino-Korean, such as 1,000 won, 1,000 won. Money! The currency in Korea is the Korean won. It's around 1,000 Korean won to 1 USD, give or take. Korea still largely deals with cash. After all, they still have traditional markets and street food. Local restaurants and shopping areas also deal with cash, but you might be able to use FPOS credit card. However, we didn't use this as a form of payment, so we can't guarantee that this will be everywhere. At the very least, you'll be able to find these in department stores and tourist places. If you're looking to bargain, such as in traditional markets or in shopping streets such as the Gosok bus terminal, we recommend paying in exact change. That means having cash on you. Korean won comes in coins and notes. For the notes, they're in denominations of 1,000. So that's 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 50,000 being the largest one. Korean coins are in 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, and 500. It's really uncommon to see 1 coins, otherwise it's essentially close to valueless. We found that we couldn't really use it outside of the supermarkets where we do get that change. Even in convenience stores, they don't tend to accept it. Otherwise, it's usually rounded to the nearest tens, but we have seen fives running around. It's common to pay with the largest note, 50,000 won, even for places like street food. So it should be okay if you're carrying notes of this size. You can use your T-Money transport card to pay for things in places like convenience stores, but we'll get to that later. Money exchange. You can do this pretty easily at either exchange centers or banks. Banks have a few more processes to run through, but we found it was pretty easy regardless of where we went. Personally, we didn't see a huge discrepancy in the conversion rate for either one. As long as you're satisfied with the conversion rate, just go for it. SIM cards. The three most famous telecommunications companies in Korea are KT, SK Telecom, and LGU+. Korea has extremely fast and reliable networks, so you can go with any one of these and it'll be perfectly fine. Korea is also known for their pocket Wi-Fi. These can be rented and returned at any international airport. You generally pay for the number of days you have the pocket Wi-Fi. Since we thought that we might need to make calls and bookings, we decided to purchase a local SIM card instead, which has a phone number. Prices will vary depending on the length of time it's active and the plan, but we found that between each company the rates are pretty similar. We recommend definitely buying it at the airport where the services are in English, but you can generally purchase them at telecommunication stores if you do come across them in Korea. Weather! We were there from late April to mid-May of 2019. We got there around the end of spring. It was really cold when we got there, but it might have just been an exception on that week we were there. Korea usually has only two major seasons, summer and winter, with the intermediate seasons spring and autumn being extremely short. So if you are going in the traditional spring or autumn seasons, we recommend bringing clothes which can accommodate to any temperature. There is a really heavy period of rain during the summer months between May and July. We experienced this on our last couple of days in Korea during May, but these bouts might happen several times during the summer season. Transport! While Google Maps provides reliable information on things such as public transport, it may be a better idea to use Naver Maps, which is the Korean version of Google Maps. Naver Maps is more informative when it comes to driving or walking around the city, because Google is not allowed to use information which may be sensitive to the Korean military. Naver Maps is also an app which is provided in English as well. Transport cards. There are two main transport cards in Korea. Cashb, which is only available for Seoul public transport, and T-Money, which can be used in all public transport around Korea as well as convenience stores. Just the card will cost you 2,500 won, and you'll need to top up on top of that. Using the card will discount your trips each time you take public transport. You can buy the card at a convenience store, and you can top up at either the convenience store or at the subway station. Daegu is an exception to this, but we'll cover it in more detail when we talk about that city. There are time-limited tourist cards such as M-Pass and Discover Seoul Pass. For the cost, it might require you to travel several times a day each day before it pays itself off. You can also use these cards to get discounts at tourist attractions, but each website will have terms and conditions. So if you want to check this out, you can look at the websites, which we'll put in the article. We recommend using a T-Money card as it doesn't expire. You can also reuse the card, so it is pretty hassle-free when it comes to using it on public transportation. You can bring it back with you as a souvenir from your trip to Korea and also reuse it if you ever decide to return again. There is also a foreigner version of the T-Money card available. It's called the Korean Tour Card. It'll get you discounts on shopping, public transport, and tourist destinations, and it'll cost 4,000 won before you add credit. Subway! Subways are the main mode of transport for many tourists in Korea, and they're available in most major cities such as Incheon, Seoul, and Daegu. It's well developed and very efficient, with wait times and destinations being clear in English, so you'll always know where you're going and how long it'll take before the next train arrives. The last subway runs until midnight, so be careful what time you plan to be out. After all, Korea is a nightlife country. I think we should also mention that as it gets later, the trains which are less frequently used do come less frequently. If you don't have or want a transport card, you can buy single journey tickets. It will cost slightly more per trip than if you had a T-Money transport card. Don't throw away the ticket. You can return it at ticket return machines inside the subway stations for a very, very small amount of change, but it will add up the more often you buy one of these tickets. Bus. Buses are a popular form of public transport for locals. It's easy to use as long as you know which bus number to take, where to get on, and where to get off. You can look this information up on Google Maps, but Naver Maps bus routes is also convenient to use as it states every bus stop along the way. The bus number, as well as popular stops, are listed usually on the front or side of the bus. Buses will also provide information in English and Korean on the overhead board at the front of the bus. And some buses also provide recorded voice information too. Buses will accept T-Money transport cards and also cash, but we recommend paying an exact change as 10,000 won notes are usually quite large for them to break. Taxi. Taxis are still very frequently used in Korea, more so than Uber or other rideshare apps. This is because the base fare is pretty low, only a couple thousand won, and the fares are pretty reasonable. It's a common mode of transport for after midnight when the trains no longer run. You can pay for your taxi fare using cash or your T-Money transport card as long as you have enough credit on it. There are many stories of foreigners getting ripped off in Korea by taxi drivers. We personally haven't experienced this, but you should take precautions whenever you do decide to ride a taxi, such as ask in advance how much approximately it will cost. Make sure the meter is running and that it started from zero. And don't accept a taxi ride if you're unsure or don't feel right about the taxi driver. Walking. Walking in Korea is surprisingly easy as the cities tend to be quite flat and compact. In fact, Seoul's train stations are located pretty close to each other, so you can actually walk from one station to the next in only a few minutes. Intercity Travel. There are three main modes of transport when you're traveling from one city to another. There are trains, buses, and planes. Trains are pretty quick. There are many trains that go to the same locations, but they go at different speeds and have different numbers of stops, so the fares can vary. Buses are obviously a lot slower, but they also go to more places as they're not restricted by the train tracks. In this case, if you want to go to smaller cities, buses may be your only option. However, there are many bus terminals in one city alone, so make sure you go to the right bus terminal if you're planning to go to a city using a bus. Planes are of course the fastest and most direct route, although it can be a lot more expensive than taking either the train or the bus, as you do have to arrive at the airport about 60 minutes before your plane leaves. You may not actually be saving time, as trains and buses are both very efficient. You may really only need to take a plane if you're going to Jeju Island. You cannot use T-money transport cards to pay for intercity tickets. We also weren't able to pay with foreign credit cards, so I can't promise it was a problem with our cards and that you generally can pay with them. So personally, cash is recommended. You can buy these tickets online or directly at the terminal. We recommend checking online to see the prices, times, and seat availability. There's usually no problem if you buy the tickets on the day. Note that if there's a holiday such as Christmas, Korean Thanksgiving, New Year's, and Buddha's birthday, there will likely be not many seats available during those travel periods. So check to see if there are any holidays during the time periods you'd like to travel. As a beginner traveler, we always recommend taking a train over a bus, as they do cover most of the major cities. Prices for trains and buses tend to be almost exactly the same, varying only by a couple of thousand won. However, for trains, they have English written on the platforms and also leave from very specific train stations, so leaves a less of a room for error. Food. Despite Korea's small size, there is a lot of local specialties depending on the region and even the city. You can watch each of our videos to see what local specialties you might be able to find in the cities that you want to travel. Matjip. If you familiarize yourself with Korean food culture, you may have heard of the term matjip, which literally translates to flavor house. Koreans use this as an indication that a restaurant is of a high quality. They tend to be labeled by the media, such as travel shows and food shows, not by the actual restaurant. The name matjip usually makes people associate these restaurants as possibly better than others serving the same food. Because of that, these restaurants tend to receive greater praise, but also harsher critiques. We have been told by a friend that it may not actually refer to the places that have better food, but rather places which have been brought to attention by media. So it might not actually be an indication of how good the food is. However, that might not necessarily be a fact, so take the term matjip as you see fit. Spicy food? Koreans are very well known for spicy food. But did you know it is possible to ask for non-spicy or mild versions of the dish that you want to eat? Particularly soups. More often than not, they usually add pepper powder or pepper paste to soups upon ordering. We recommend ordering soup in the non-spicy version. This is so you can taste the stock first and appreciate the flavor of the soup. But that's really just us. If the restaurant serves a really good spicy soup, it must mean that their seasoning is also really tasty. So if you like spicy food, then by all means go for it. However, stir-fried dishes such as 닭갈비 tend to be marinated in the spicy sauce. So unfortunately, the spices may be unavoidable for those dishes. Restaurant. People tend to be worried as a solo traveler where they can dine if they are by themselves. The general rule of thumb is if you see a burner in the middle of the table, that's usually meant for one huge dish to be placed in the middle so that people can share. It's because the cost of cleaning the stove after one single person's order is not profitable. Here are some places where you can dine solo. Pretty much anywhere, as long as it doesn't have the burners. Some examples are soups, as they come in individual portions. You can also go to fast food places, convenience stores, and traditional markets. You might know this from dining in Korean restaurants. Where you come from, cutlery in Korea is usually at the table already. Look for a little box or a drawer at the side of the table, and you can find all your cutlery that you may need in these. Tissues and condiments such as pepper powder and soy sauce are usually located on the table as well. There's usually also a button for you to press so that you can flag a waiter down. Side dishes are free, so don't worry about extra hidden costs. You can refuse them if you don't think you can finish them off. They will appreciate not wasting food. There are also times where you use a hand-in sheet to order instead of the waiter writing down your order. Of course, in places like cafes and fast food restaurants, order and pick up at the counter. Food streets or food alleys. This is a phenomenon that happens possibly only in Korea. One restaurant usually serves one dish, which becomes extremely popular. Many people flock to eat at this restaurant, and neighboring restaurants begin to serve copy or imitation dishes, opening up a whole street which specializes in one specific dish. Examples include jokbal alley, jimgalbi alley, makchang, muchimhue. The competition is really high in these sorts of places, so you'll tend to find that most of the restaurants will sell for exactly the same price. Each restaurant will provide their own recipe for that dish, so some restaurants might actually be better than others. But in either case, as long as you pick one restaurant, it should still be really tasty. We highly recommend visiting these food streets, as it is a good indication that this dish is a local specialty. Give it a go! Give it a go! Public bathrooms. The one thing that stands out in Korea is that you can't flush toilet paper down the toilets. They must be thrown away in rubbish bins provided inside the stalls. You'll likely see signs telling you this in various languages inside the bathroom stalls, so just follow the rules. The reason we speculate is because the toilet paper actually clogs up the toilets because they have a lower water pressure in Korea, but we can't say for sure. In any case, we've heard multiple accounts of this happening to various people. So just don't do it. Convenience stores and supermarkets. Convenience store brands include 7-Eleven, CU, GS25, and eMart24. They're pretty easy to find, basically all over the place, and the prices tend to be pretty similar between each one. Each chain has their own brand, so you tend to find some unique products depending on which chain you go to. Korea likes producing limited edition flavors, so depending on the season or just whatever popular flavor there is at the time, you might find something new. For supermarkets, Home Plus, Lotte Mart, and eMart are the three popular chains that we saw around Korea. They're relatively accessible regardless of where you stay, and they tend to have products in bulk. So if you're looking for souvenirs in volume, this may be the place that you want to go. Shopping. Shopping is a huge part of Korean pop culture. There are many shopping districts sprinkled around the country, usually surrounding university areas. These shopping districts tend to have shops which are independent from the major brands and typically carry one-size-fits-all clothes which follow the basic trend of the season. There are usually cheap, fast fashion ranging between 10,000 and 50,000 won per item, but you'll find that the quality is generally pretty good. Clothes are heavily based on season and current trends, so don't be surprised to find very similar clothing items in different parts of the country. Of course, you can go to malls for more elevated name brand shopping. If you're planning to go on a shopping spree to branded stores in the shopping districts, make sure you prepare yourself a shopping bag. From our experience, skincare stores such as Nature Republic and Etude House will charge you for a bag with your purchase. Souvenirs. There isn't one typical souvenir that we can think of which embodies Korea as a whole, but there is something for everyone, whether it's modern, traditional, edible, or not. Popular souvenirs include cosmetics, merchandise based off pop culture, and food. Other recommended items are the usual postcards, magnets, keychains. Our personal recommendation, if you aren't allergic to almonds, they have a very good almond range in various flavors which are extremely high quality and very tasty. And they're also very popular. You'll find that there are a lot of souvenir stores, especially in touristy places such as Myeongdong, so you can easily find these almonds or a bunch of other popular Korean souvenir snacks and souvenirs in general to take home with you. Let's talk cities. Incheon. Incheon is a port town neighboring Seoul. This is actually where the biggest international airport is located. You will likely find yourself landing in this city. It's a very quiet, artsy city which focuses on Chinese culture and history because of the huge Chinese immigrant population in Incheon city. It houses the only official Chinatown in Korea, and many attractions are influenced by Chinese Korean culture, such as a Jjajangmyeon museum where you can learn about the history of one of Korea's most beloved dishes. Seoul. There's a train that runs directly from Incheon Airport to Seoul. Seoul is the capital of South Korea. It's a huge, bustling city, but somehow still feels really local and low-rise. This may be thanks to the pockets of nature and history, such as Gyeongbokgung Palace and Seoul Forest. Seoul also has the Han River running through it, which is a popular location for dates or for people to just get away from the city. We recommend taking a bike ride through there as it is a very nice pastime. It's cheap to rent a bike, approximately 3,000 won per hour per person, but you must give in a form of ID during your rental. There are a lot of shopping districts in Seoul, the famous ones including Myeongdong shopping area, Hongdae University area, and Gosok bus terminal, which is an underground terminal located around Gosok bus terminal train station. Jeonju. Jeonju is a very small landlocked city known for its rich history. Its most popular tourist attraction is the Hanok village, which provides history, culture, and cuisine. We also recommend the Hanji Paper Museum, which is free, interactive, highly informative, and English friendly. It has a great gift store with a lot of affordable souvenirs, which feature traditional Hanji paper products. Jeonju does not have a train line running through it, so the most common form of transport is bus, taxi, or on foot. But it is a fairly small city, so you shouldn't really get lost. Jeonju is also known as the food capital of Korea. It is one of UNESCO's creative cities of gastronomy, so many people go there to eat. They have many specialties, so check out our video as to what you can find in Jeonju. Daegu. Daegu is a small landlocked city. It's one of the smaller cities that has a local train line. You can use the T-money card here, but you can't top up at the train station like you can for other cities. You have to top up your T-money card at convenience stores instead of train stations. Because of its location in a valley, a popular pastime in Daegu is to go mountain hiking. There are plenty of popular hiking trails, and a couple of the mountains also have cable cars if you really don't feel like walking. Daegu is also famous for fabrics and textiles, so if you want to go shopping for materials, especially silk, Somun Market is the place to go. Busan. Busan is a large port town with a super rich history thanks to the Korean War. It's well known for its abundance in seafood. There are also plenty of shopping districts in Busan, which includes places like the areas around Jagaochi and Nampo, including the Nampo shopping streets and the Nampo Underground Shopping Center. These places are similar to places like Myeongdong or Ewha University in Seoul. Seomyeon Underground Shopping Center is located around Seomyeon train station and provides similar products. In terms of transport, Busan provides a 5,000 won day pass, which allows you unlimited rides on the train for one day. This can be purchased at ticket machines in train stations. If you're planning to take the subway more than 4 times in one day, it will definitely be worth it to purchase this ticket. Jeju-do, or otherwise known as Jeju Island. Jeju Island is an island located off the south coast of South Korea, and as Chinese locals do not need a passport to visit, you may find that there are plenty of people who speak Chinese there. Jeju is known for its seafood, tangerines, and nature such as mountains and waterfalls. So it's a very beautiful place to visit. That's it. And that just about wraps it up. We hope that answers any of the questions you may have about traveling to Korea. But of course, as per usual, all this information will be outlined on our blog post, which will be linked in the description below. Follow us on Instagram at Twinspeak. Don't forget to check out our other videos, which has lots of recommendations on things to do and eat in Korea. We'll see you next time.